Welcome back, everyone. And so now let's get started making some rope pumpkin stems. I've already got my materials out, and I have pre-cut the manila rope. This is the manila, and it looks very much like sisal, as I was stating earlier. However, it has a lot of brown to it. It's got a more rustic, a darker look, which is great because last year, before I found this, and I did get this at my local Home Depot, it was less than $10 for a 50-foot roll. I've already used some, so the label's not on it, but it's with all the rope in the rope section in Home Depot. Make sure your scissors are very sharp because this is very hard to cut. Even if you're using sisal, make sure you've got some really sharp scissors because it's a little bit hard to cut. But this is a pumpkin stem I did last year with the sisal. This is one of those craft pumpkins you can get at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. Bought this a few years ago. It was orange, did some other stuff with it. Last year I decided to do white pumpkins, and actually I spray painted both of these. This is a ceramic pumpkin that I bought years ago from Kirkland's. It has the initial on it. It was fading from the sun, so I did a paint, just a light spray paint on it, on both of them actually, and I have one more. And they come with the little short, fat, stubby stems, which just did not match after I painted the pumpkins. So I made stems, and I used sisal rope for this. Basically, I used the same technique. I did not separate these strands like I'm showing you today, and the reason is because one, I was in a hurry, but also two, I needed a bigger, fatter stem, and it would have probably taken me all day to separate for one this fat, because this is actually pretty large. And so, let's see if you can kind of get a look at the stem. I also, because it was sisal, it doesn't have the dark color to it like the vanilla does. And so I did a little dry brush painting with some brown and black paint, just, lightly watered it down, just dry brush. And I did come back with some white. You can put any colors on these that you want if you want to paint the stems. I also have, I don't have one here, but I also have have done some green paint to make it look like moss, or you can do like I did on this one. And this is one of those little dollar pumpkins from Dollar Tree. They're just the orange styrofoam pumpkins, and I took the stem out because they're little squatty square stems that look nothing like a stem. I actually made this stem out of some grapevine that I had, and I just kind of glued it on there, and I put some moss on it because they do have the little form edges, and these are not quite as nice. You need something to kind of finish it, so I did this little moss on there. Those stems you can actually pull out, and they're just held in with like a toothpick. But also, these are hollow. The styrofoam pumpkins are hollow, and you can actually cut it out, and then fill it with something like beans or rice or something to make it a little bit heavier. And then you just glue your styrofoam back in there. You can put any kind of stem, or you can save the little square stem and use it as a form to make a fatter stem, which I'm going to show you how to do later. But just so have your materials ready. Again, your rope, you can use jute rope. Jute is flexible and kind of bends. It's not as sturdy, it's not as stiff, but with jute rope, which I have made pumpkin stems with jute rope, just use some Mod Podge or just some white glue, school glue, watered down. And once you get your stem the way you want it, if you paint that over it, you will actually stiffen it up and it will hold its form. The nice thing about the jute is because it is flexible, you can make curves if you want, so it can be a curly stem. But it does take a little bit more work with the jute. Jute's easier to work with, it's easier to cut. But again, that's a preference. And we have this fat stick, and I'll explain later what that's for, because that's just going to be a form for a fatter stem. We have our rope, and I have actually cut 4 pieces, and you can just cut them however long you want. This is something I usually just eyeball. I separate the strands, and all you do basically is twist the rope in the opposite that it's wound in. So if it's going this way, you're going to twist it the other way, which I can't do and hold the phone too, but you twist it and the strands will separate, and you will have 3 strands. And so I have my hot glue gun plugged up. It's heating up, and again, this is the low temp because we will burn ourselves. Make sure you have a lot of glue sticks on hand because you're probably going to use a lot. Now, here are our materials, and look at the next video how to make just the regular skinny smaller stems, and I'll see you soon.